Hello, everybody. By this point, we're going to be pretty far in our book. Okay. And what we should be realizing is that there are a lot of hints that are given in the beginning of the book as to what's going to happen later on in the book. Well, guess what? That's your definition of foreshadowing. Okay. It's basically hints of what happens later on in the story. Okay. We could probably think of a lot of examples of this in movies and books when we see certain things that happen and then afterwards like, oh, I knew that was going to happen. Well, how'd you know that was going to happen? Because there was a hint earlier in the movie that made you realize like, oh yeah, this is what made me realize I knew this was going to happen. In literature, foreshadowing happens all the time. There are so many hints given to you in the beginning of a story that suggest what will happen later on in the story. Okay, that's what foreshadowing it is. So click the website as usual. There's some good examples here of foreshadowing. Okay, as you go through the website, give the text evidence of the foreshadowing. There's 5 examples on the website. What I'm doing right now is adding another row for you, the 5th one. Okay, give text evidence of foreshadowing and explain the event that the evidence foreshadowed. So give the evidence, explain what event that evidence foreshadowed. That is your homework, your at-home work for this evening. Okay, you could obviously do more practice on the website if you need it. All right, but once we get into class, okay, you're going to start with number 3. Okay, so as soon as you get into class, you get going right away. And by this point, you should be able to think back to moments in the book that were examples of foreshadowing. List them in the table above. So what were some examples of foreshadowing that you remember that you noticed? Okay, you might have to go back in the text and find them. That's fine. But give the evidence and say what event they foreshadowed. Okay, if you haven't gotten to this point yet, that means you're not reading enough and you need to read further ahead in your book so that you know what's going to happen, so that you see what's happening, and then you will be able to recognize those examples of foreshadowing. Sometimes it'll happen at the beginning of the chapter, and then the example or what is foreshadowed will happen at the end of the chapter. Sometimes foreshadowing will happen at the beginning of the book, and the event won't happen until the very end of the book. Okay, it could be a page and a half later at the same time. So you need to understand how to find foreshadowing, okay? And the trick is you have to get better. You'll get better at recognizing it when the event happens and then you think back to, oh, how did I know that was going to happen? If you're the type of person that is very good at predicting what's going to happen in a TV show or a movie, it's because you know how to pick up the signs that the authors are giving you and you know how you understand foreshadowing, okay? We could foreshadow with the weather. We could foreshadow with a conversation between a character. We could foreshadow between an action. In a movie, we could foreshadow just by a look that a character might give another character. Okay, there are so many examples of this. If you have any questions about it, let me know. I'd be happy to answer. But that's what you're doing. Okay, the foreshadowing in your book. Any questions? Feel free to comment on Google Classroom, and good luck.